Hi guys, today I'm gonna make what I feel like is the most awaited video. This is going to be my fountain pen collection. This is a pen case from Galen Leather, and I keep all of my, there you go, I just had to turn it over. Galen Leather, and I store all of my uninked clean pens in here, but for this video I just put all of the pens in here so that I can have it all in one place. And as you can see, my collection has grown quite a lot, so I'll just show you them now. So I sort it by brands mostly, and then I also separate vintage from modern pens. So I'll just start right here. These are all my Parker pens. So these two are modern Parker dual folds. So this is a remake of the Big Red, which used to be a very popular pen. So let me just show you. It has an 18 karat gold nib. And so this is, like I said, a Parker dual fold remake of the Big Red, which was very popular. I think John F. Kennedy had one. And then this is another Parker dual fold with this beautiful kind of marbled look. And this is once again the same nib. This is also dirty, so I have to clean it, but yes. So this is another Parker dual fold, same line. And then these are two of my vintage Parker dual folds and some of my prize collections. I really love these pens. They're just so wet and juicy, and they write beautifully. So these are also gold nibs. I believe they're either 14 karat or also 18 karat. These are both button fillers. And they're both write so nice. They're so juicy. They both have gold nibs. I think this one's a little flexible. Maybe not. But anyways, they both write really beautifully. And this is the other one. And then these are two of my Parker 51s. I feel like I have one more, but I'm not actually sure where it is. So anyways, I think I have one more, which is the missing gap. So these are two of my Parker 51s. I have another one, which is in this kind of burgundy color. All three of them are the Aerometrics. This one's really beautiful. So yeah, I think I have two of them that are more rare colors, and they're also with a 18 karat filled cap instead of the like more common 16 karat, I believe. Actually, this is a 16 karat filled cap. So anyways, I just remember I think two of these were like more of the rare colors and also caps. They have a beautiful like gem looking finial. Actually, so do these. I should probably show that as well. So this has a gold finial, and this has kind of a really dark blue, almost black finial. Kind of classic to the vintage Parker look. And as you can see, of course, all the Parkers have this beautiful arrow clip. So then these are all my Watermans, and they're actually all modern pens. So this is the Waterman Expert, but this model is actually discontinued and they created a new model. So this is when they were still like a little bit lighter. So I also have a full review and video of this pen, so you can go check that out if you want a little bit more information. These are both Waterman Ideal pens. So I think this one is more rare as well. This is a silver filled pen from the 1980s, I believe. And when I looked for information on this pen, I think they were selling it at Saks Fifth Avenue, something like that. I could be totally wrong, but I just saw it in a listing. So yeah, it's a very beautiful pen with an 18 karat nib. I feel like it's a very luxurious, fancy looking pen just because it's gold and silver. But and it's also quite weighty, which I feel like is what tends to be the case with these Waterman pens. I think they changed this Expert pen to be more weighty. So this is like the lighter version, which I actually kind of prefer. I like writing with light pens just because I usually write for longer periods of time. So this is also a Waterman Ideal, I believe, as you can see on the nib. And it is also an 18 karat gold nib. And it has this like really interesting kind of like that rubber look that was very familiar in like vintage fountain pens. So I think they kind of tried to mimic it with this pen. By the way, most of these pens are also either gifted to me or I found at like estate sales or different things like that. They're all secondhand. Obviously the vintage ones are, but so I got a really good deal on them, but also a lot of them aren't restored. So I've actually, this is a good time to go into my other vintage pens. So this is kind of like a mismatch of a bunch of different vintage pens that I have. And I actually restored this Esterbrook lever filler by myself. So these are all Esterbrook J pens. I was like, let me experiment on like pens that I don't like as much. No offense if I know Esterbrook is really making a comeback and a lot of people are loving them. I also realized that I should have restored this red pen because I dip tested all of them, and the red pen's nib actually writes a lot nicer, and this nib is just really dry. It doesn't have really great ink flow. So yeah, I realized that I restored the wrong pen, but I do still have more supplies and I kind of tested it out on this one, so I could just do that for the other pens. So yeah, these are all Esterbrook J pens and they all have the black finials. And then into like the hodgepodge of random vintage pens. So this is a Scripto, made in the US. Okay, I guess it doesn't twist off. And I believe it is just a steel nib. Interesting. And then this one is actually a pen that I really enjoy. It is a Morrison's pen. It also just looks so fancy and I think that's really fun. It's a gold filled pen, very reminiscent of these fancy vintage fountain pens. So it has a tiny nib and it's also quite a little bit flexible. You probably can't tell because I'm wearing, you know, nail extensions, but yeah, so beautiful nib, also needs to be cleaned. And this you might recognize if you've been following me since the beginning of my channel, but this is a university pen. This is the first vintage pen I bought. I bought it off of eBay for like $5, pretty cheap, but it is also a celluloid pen. It's just absolutely stunning. It does have a crack in the cap, so it's always just gonna dry out, so it's not really worth restoring, but it is just a beautiful pen to look at and to have. And this one is also one of my favorite writing vintage pens that I have, especially because it's just a random pen, but this is a Swan pen. And it has this, once again, very popular kind of looking body. So it has some writing here as well, some engraving. So there's a little swan. I've actually never noticed that until now, which is crazy. It just says Swan pen present and it has a little swan engraving there, if you can see that. Sorry, I'm kind of shaky. But yes, so that's that pen. And also I really just love writing with it because it's also a more flexible nib, as you can see. And it has a really cute heart breather hole, so I love that. I'm a sucker for just like how the pens look as well as how they write, so that's something that I really enjoy. And this is just a vintage calligraphy pen from Schaefer. I also have a blue one, once again, not completely sure where it went. As you can see, there are some pens who have gone to pen heaven, as if you have seen some of my other videos. So my TWSBI Eco, I lost while I was in Japan, very sadly. I want to get another one to replace it in my collection. My first ever fountain pen, sadly, also went to pen heaven. It was the Black Forest Hongdian pen, which I loved. I thought it looked very classy and cool, but I dropped it on the nib. I know, terrible. I think I cried. Not really, but I was horrified. So anyways, that pen has also gone to pen heaven, sadly. But once again, I also could definitely replace it in my collection. But I think I have quite a few pens already, so maybe we'll see. So then I'll just go to these. So basically every single pen that I've talked about so far is secondhand from random places. And the one section I haven't showed you yet is the pens that I've actually purchased, like new and on my own. So I'll get to those last. So these are all Mont Blanc pens. Some of these are rollerballs. So this is the Mont Blanc, Meisterstuck, I believe 149 it's called. But this is just a rollerball. But since it is such a nice and expensive pen, I decided to just keep it in this box along with my others. And I have two other classic Meisterstucks, which one of is a rollerball and the other one is a fountain pen. So this is a fountain pen, and I can tell because it's lighter. I forgot that it was not a twist off. Anyways, so this is the Meisterstuck. Beautiful, and I'm very lucky to have it in my collection. It's stunning. So this is in a medium nib, I believe. So I can't really see it right now, but I'm pretty sure this is a medium nib because it is a little bit too thick for me, since the German nibs also are a little bit thicker than the Japanese ones, but absolutely beautiful. As you can tell though, some of the gold has kind of rubbed off along some of the gold accents on this pen. So as you can see, this one really needs some work. I don't even know if it's still usable. Literally dust is falling off as I twist it. But anyways, I found it somewhere and I thought I would keep it along with these. And this is just like a classic rollerball, which has some nice heft to it. This is actually, I feel like, would be really nice if you want to be all fancy and just have something nice to sign paperwork with, I guess. It's like a nice show-offy pen. That's why I also I don't care too much about the brands. Like, I don't have fountain pens because I think they look nice and fancy. I like pens because they write really well, and I like them to be pretty because they just help me evoke more joy as part of my writing habits. But these were all actually gifted to me by my father. Would I necessarily buy a Mont Blanc pen? I'm not really sure. Another very controversial opinion that I have, but I'm also not the biggest fan of how they write. So I will just say that. But my Meisterstuck is also a vintage pen. So a lot of these are found just randomly at different estate sales or while antiquing. So, and then these are all of my Schaefer pens. This is a Pelican, but these are all my Schaefer pens. So most of them are also vintage, but these two are modern. So these two are modern recreations of a vintage Schaefer white dot pen, which the exact model I believe is called the Imperial Touch. And they have this beautiful inlaid nib, I believe it's called, a 14 karat gold nib. So I do really enjoy these pens, and they are quite wet and juicy as well. And so a lot of these other pens though from Schaefer, I don't have any restored vintage pens from them. So this is a Schaefer's ladies pen, Lady Schaefer if you will, and it's also the same kind of inlaid nib that flares a little bit at the tip. This I've just been using with a cartridge, which works pretty nicely. So that's this pen. And then I have this Schaefer Snorkel, which I've actually never even dipped and used because, as you can see, it's having some issues. So it obviously needs to be restored. Oh, and this is my last Schaefer pen. I'm actually not completely sure what it's called, but it has like a 14 karat gold lifetime nib. And it's also the same style of nib as as most of the others actually, but very similar and reminiscent to the Lady Schaefer, just the same shape, just in a gold nib. And it is a really nice pen, but it's also not restored, and I don't know the exact name of it. So it's kind of also has the same pump mechanism as the Snorkel. Not exactly the same, of course, it doesn't go through the feed, but yeah, so that's this pen. So definitely have a lot of pens to restore to like be able to use regularly and comfortably. So this is also one of the pens that I have bought new. So this is the Pelikan M400 in the white turquoise color, which I think was a special edition release. I think they still have it around though if you still want it. Sorry, my phone keeps running out of storage. So this is the Pilot Custom 74, and it has a soft fine nib, and I believe it's a 14 karat nib. I'm actually not sure. And I also have like the larger converter in here. So yeah, just a very basic Pilot pen. It's the basic level of the Pilot gold nib pens. And this is the Platinum Century 3776. This is actually one of my new favorite pens. And it has, all of them have like a cute little breather hole, which I love. And this is a 14 karat nib. And this is part of the Nice line, so it has these striations. And it is also everything in rose gold color. They also have a purple and a clear demonstrator pen. That's a part of the line as well. I've also heard people kind of quip about the fact that everything is rose gold, but then they don't sell any rose gold converters, so it doesn't look the best, but I don't mind it at all. So yeah, I think it's a pretty pen and it's a beautiful writer as well. And this is my Sailor and Cora pen. I am absolutely in love with this beauty, and it was such an amazing experience to be able to customize the look of my own pen. So this has a medium fine nib, and it is a steel nib because this is Sailor's like basic steel nib pen. So yeah, I feel very lucky and special to have something like this in my collection, just because it is definitely harder to come by and harder to obtain. And this is my baby, my precious, my first pen that I really spent a lot of money on. This is my Sailor Pro-Gear Slim in the color Dragon Palace. This will always have a place in my heart. This is also a medium fine, a hard medium fine, and it's just an absolutely stunning color. I have a review on this. If you know my channel, then you've probably seen it. But just, this is still one of my favorite pens just because I just love it so much. I think it just also is like very sentimental to me. So this is something that will never leave my collection. And then this is my most recent pen. It is a Kaweco Sport. So I've never been really that interested in Kaweco, if I'm going to be honest. I've heard a lot of things about their nibs not being like as great as they should, just having different issues with them basically. So yeah, but I have had no issues with this. This is also part of the Kaweco collection. So it was a limited edition colorway. And I purchased it because it's pretty, but also because I wanted kind of like a cheaper pen to just throw inside my bag and kind of carry around with me. So this is really perfect for that. And also, since my hands are tiny, I really could just write with it like this. And I think the idea that I had to post it to write it never really appealed to me either, but I found that it's perfectly fine, and it's very light as well. It honestly is similar to the Pilot Kakuno in that way, in the sense that it's just like very light, which does feel kind of cheap, but they are on the cheaper side. So definitely I see why this pen is also so raved about, just for being a nice pen that you can also just kind of throw around and carry around with you everywhere, because it is pocket sized. So that's really nice. And I love the colors as well. So yeah, that is my current fountain pen collection. It has grown quite a lot since I have last made any videos. So I am really grateful to have my collection be this large. So yeah, I'm just really ecstatic, and I hope to also show you a lot of new reviews of some of these pens that I have. And please let me know if there's specific pens that you'd be interested in learning more about and seeing my thoughts about them. I mean, I'm definitely not the most educated person in fountain pens at all, but I do love writing with them. So if you'd want to just know my personal opinions and thoughts about some of these, then I would love to share them. I also have another pen that's kind of like a fun addition to this collection, I think. So it's actually this pen right here. And I had a box for this too, but I think I might have gotten rid of it. But this is a tiny little toy pen for children, I'm assuming. And I also picked this up at a little estate sale. So the reason why I am sharing this is because, one, it's so fun. It's like a little dip pen. But also, I actually love the way that this writes. As you can see, it is like a Japanese dip pen made for children, kind of like the Kakuno. And the nib is actually really nice. It has a heart breather hole, and it says "Snow Pen Best." I don't really have a lot of information on this, but the reason why I'm sharing it is actually because, surprisingly, I love the way it writes. It's actually a little bit flexible, and so yeah, very fun. So I thought I'd just show you guys this as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, then please let me know.